Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and today we are going to be reviewing One Piece Chapter 1037 with your host, Geboss and Akainu Fanboy. So, the chapter is called Dragon Boo's Bagua. Now, first we're given the Vin Smokes, and it's kind of interesting because we had that Sanji characterization recently where he was fighting off, going against his, not turning into his brothers basically because of the change from the raid suit. And you see them all emotionless basically, something that Sanji would have turned into. And it's called Judge's Sigh. So it might be interesting to see if he's reflecting in any way, shape, or form. And I think Oda's also kind of teasing again. He's giving no indication of how they escaped basically, nor where are they going to. And one kind of insight that I thought of was how the selfishness of Big Mom kind of plays out again here, where she was so angry basically about losing to Luffy and her pride got in the way that she lost another thing that she wanted deep down, which was the cloning system basically. So her selfishness got in the way of her success again, like Loki and the Giants would be another example of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. I'm still just trying to figure out how the Vin Smokes escaped. Because, I mean, we've talked about how they were completely surrounded before. And they look relatively okay compared to, like, what they were going up against. Because I think last time we saw, like, Judge, he was facing down Snack. So...
Yes.
And he looks okay. He still has like the one bandage around his eye or whatever, but I mean Reiju and that's Ichiji look fine.
Yeah, so I have more on this towards the end. I want to connect it back towards the end once we get to the end of the chapter. But it is interesting to see. I'm wondering where they're going to end up after all this also. Because I have a hard time imagining where they go. Maybe he meets up with Vegapunk at some point, or maybe they just won't meet up till the Straw Hats. But I'm wondering how this little mini arc's going to conclude here too, because they have no friends, either it be the world government or the Yonko at this point.
They're going to meet up. They're going to meet up with Pound in his cover story. It's going to intersect.
Or maybe they'll run into Caesar. For all we know.
Oh yeah, that would be because Caesar just kind of flew off in Whole Cake.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe the band of scientists will come back together, or maybe Queen will fall out of the sky and land on Judge's German boats.
Yeah.
So there's still a wellness check on Queen. Yeah. May he rest in peace. But when it gets to so basically we're shown the fire festival. You know, Oda does a nice kind of display of the people they're trying to save in Wano, in the capital. And in a way, they're kind of like setting up a form of prayer when they're just riding up their attentions on these little balloons and they're going up and everything like that. So it's just trying to show more of the innocence and the stakes that are going on here. Then it starts off this really cool fight with Luffy and Kaido for basically most of the chapter, which I did love. It was just something that I've been looking forward to.
Yeah, I do want to say one thing about the lanterns because they're sending them up. I think it would be interesting for when Luffy beats Kaido if that's kind of like the backdrop of when he gets defeated, like it's all the hopes and prayers of all the innocent people of Wano behind when Luffy beats him.
Yes, no, that'd be really cool, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it would really be heavily symbolic too of them finally being broken from the reign of Kaido, and which is kind of interesting too because he was talking because Kaido does reference the fire festival and like the beer he got from it and everything like that too. And what I really found interesting about this is like Oda's incorporating his drunkenness, his gag, as like a part of his fighting style. Because like so let's say contrast from Big Mom, her gag actually is a detriment to her fighting style, but for Kaido it's like a positive.
Yeah, and this is jumping a little bit ahead of in the chapter, but Luffy says, like, during this fight, like, when he's going through his drunk phases, that his hoki's getting stronger. So, I don't know how that would... I mean... Yeah, I don't know how that factors into it. Unless it's, like, there was obviously, like, Rock Lee and Naruto, where he had, where he drank and he got, quote-unquote, stronger, like, Kimimaro couldn't predict his moves or anything.
Yeah, and maybe it's like an emotional type of thing. I mean, is there still something that broke Kaido that makes him sad? So, I'm wondering if the beer the sake, it just like basically makes him numb to the pain, and once that pain's gone, he gets stronger as a result in a way, where he's like back to his old joyful self. He like drinks away his problems, basically, and it helps him to focus better in that respect.
Yeah.
Because whatever that was, it hurt him,
Yeah. Also, Luffy loses his coat at the beginning of this chapter. Unfortunate. He had the drip.
Yeah. and I think, what was it? When he does the Laughing Drunkard attack Kaido, and just his face, Roro, it's just such a funny face. Look at it. It's just like smiling, He looks so dorky there, But like Luffy's like struggling big time.
Yeah.
Against this.
But I mean, this also, like, I think this kind of shows how much Luffy's grown with this, because he's fighting pretty evenly with Kaido, and Kaido even says, like, I've acknowledged your strength, and he says, I can't remember the last time I was challenged to a serious one-on-one fight. And I know when this all started, people were saying, like, oh, Luffy can't win this in a one-on-one. It's gonna have to, because that's what Oda set up, like, he can't win, no one can beat Kaido on a one-on-one. And again, with the laughing drunk Ragnaroku attack, like, that's arguably much stronger than the first Thunder Bagua that one-shot Luffy, and he's just bouncing right back up from that. So
yeah, exactly. And obviously there's a little bit of an asterisk though, like with the one-on-one, but at the last part, it's a one-on-one though.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
that's true. But I mean, with his fight with Luffy and everything, he's taking the most damage here.
Sure.
Yeah, and I mean, even like he did his like his dragon demolition twister attack, and I think that was the one that cut off Kiku's arm. So like, and he just blocks it. Yeah,
no, it's good. I like that attack from Kaido. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just this is a very good fight chapter with it. I mean, do you think this is better than the Zoro and Sanji fights? Just this one chapter?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, so the only thing I'd say with the Sanji fight, I like the emotional characterization. I thought that was through the roof good. So that's like the only thing that was like, I'd say better than this, but in terms of like the action and the choreography, it's way better than the other fights.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and it also looks like Luffy goes Gear 2 in one of the panels. So
yeah, he hasn't even gone Gear 4 with all this.
Yeah, but it's just kind of amazing seeing Luffy go up against Kaido at this level.
Yeah, it's like Gatling Dragon Army too. That was with the Gear 3rd. That was like awesome too. He's come such a long way, just like from when he first activated Gear 3rd against Luigi, and then he became small. So he's come a long way, and it's really cool and awesome. And I can't wait for the anime to get to this part. It's going to be phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
and
especially
it's, honestly. Oh, sorry, go.
No, especially there's this one panel where I didn't catch it the first time I was reading it, but he blocks Kaido's club swing like Rayleigh did against the elephant when he was training, like just straight out like rejecting it. So it's just cool to see how it'll be interesting to see the power level, like what's after this, because Kaido's supposedly the strongest character according to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm starting to get more inclined to that Kaido is stronger than Big Mom. Clearly now at this point, because I don't know, it's looking that way that Big Mom's going down this arc, and just compare the damage these two have taken from one another. It's not even close, and Kaido's still going ham, basically. And I don't think we've even seen Kaido's final trump card on top of all this.
No, we need his backstory first, and then we'll get into that.
Exactly, right. So, the fight was awesome, loving it, looking forward to it, and I mean, to some extent, it kind of even looks like it's getting closer to the conclusion, obviously with the exception of the backstory, and then we move on to, when you see Mary Jo, it's going to be hype, so filled with mystery and all that, but I didn't see this coming. It was really abrupt, out of nowhere. So they say, this year's reverie was cursed. Forget about that incident for now. Damn you, Oda. You're still hyping up the I want to know what happened, okay? I'm waiting for that intermission chapter, and it really... So one thing I did notice, Mary Joa is roughly fine. Doesn't look damaged at all.
True.
Which means I kind of think the revolutionaries got walloped. I thought maybe that's an indicator of it. I mean, my bias against them. It didn't look like much of a fight, is what I'm trying to say.
But they have I can't even remember his name, the little rat guy with the technology.
Exactly. I don't remember.
How could he lose against Fujitora?
I know. Yeah. And so, it is interesting though, kind of the shift where Akainu was like, "No, we need to focus on the warlords," and now you have the Gorosei saying, "No, we need Wano's more pressing matter now." So, I'm not sure if the warlords have been taken care of already, because now their focus seems to be back on Wano.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, it makes you wonder how this whole timeline with the Reverie and Wano kind of, because we thought that they were going parallel, but it looks like we're at the current time right now because they're calling in, or I don't know.
It's definitely like current timeline, and I think a fair bit amount of days have passed since they went to war with the warlords and stuff, but it was interesting. Since also in a battle that involves Big Mom and Kaido, anyone's death won't raise suspicion. They must be erased. So I'm wondering. Well, yeah, they could, and then they say like Nico Rob has been captured already, but like wondering about that. But I don't think they care about like killing Nico Robin.
Yeah, they want her captured.
Like, they make it. Yes, so they're talking about someone they should kill, and don't worry, it won't seem suspicious because it's a war. So they're not talking about Robin, or like any pirate, I'd say at that point, because the government kills pirates anyways, so it wouldn't be like a scandal for them to do that. So maybe they're talking about Drake, or maybe they're talking about Orochi. Yeah, I'm curious who they are talking about, though. It's something they need to cover up.
Yeah, and then I don't have an idea, because I mean it could be related to this fruit discussion that they're having, and it's interesting because it said, I think you have a little bit different translation than I do, but with the fruit, it says, "That's impossible. That fruit is nothing but a legend now, even for us. It hasn't awakened for centuries." So I'm just wondering how... I was reading something about this, and I think they could be referring to Toki's fruit in this, because that would make kind of sense why it wouldn't have reawakened, because she kept jumping.
So I think there's a couple candidates that could be brought into this where, it could be Toki. I hadn't thought about that. I was kind of thinking about Lost Fruit too.
Yeah, that was the other one that got brought up.
Yeah, because it's a very public fruit, obviously, because law has it, and a lot of people knew about it, and the government had an interest in apprehending it. And then there's like the third option where it kind of implies that Zunisha, I mean, sorry,
Zunisha.
Um, Zunisha, yeah. That's a fruit too, which would mean Babanuki, the elephant guy from the prison, Udon prison. I think that's what his name was. That means he's an artificial fruit of this island, you know?
Mhm.
So he has a huge link to this story too. You know, he might be the Lurky legend at this point.
That's
true. Yeah, so obviously he's being purposely vague about this too, but I thought about this where Lost Fruit is now awakened.
Yeah, when you brought up it being awakened, that, yeah.
So, and if Lost Fruit is awakened, that means the immortality's there at play. You know, the whole thing that Doflamingo wanted. And didn't Doflamingo say he knew about the secret of Marijoa too?
Yeah, but how would they have known that Lost Fruit had awakened? Because, I mean, that's what we were kind of talking about when we were talking about Lost Fruit. Like, we don't know when he awakened it. But, like, if he just awakened it shortly before this, because if Law had awakened it, I think he would have used it against Doflamingo. Don't you think?
Yeah, so I think he awakened it after, but I think they found out that he awakened it because they have the spies, and the spies are reporting to CP0.
So they're getting it like real time at
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they look nervous too, you know? So I think that's the first time we've seen them nervous, and Doflamingo saw that fruit as the key becoming like the strongest, basically, too.
Yeah.
So
what do you think about them knowing about like changing the name of a fruit? Because I think someone brought it up. I don't know if Oda answered it or not, but like when someone gets their fruit, they automatically know about it, know how to use it, or know what it is. That's how they know. They don't name it by themselves, and that's why there's like an encyclopedia of devil fruits.
Yeah.
So, and I still think Vegapunk's involved in the fruit aspect of it, because he's been researching the devil fruits and knows a lot about them. So, I don't know. This is all very, very mysterious, very interesting. And
yeah, and he's being perfectly ambiguous with it for a reason. And I just had this thought where they knew that Law was like a part of the Marines still. I know there's that theory that he's still a part of Sword and the Marines and stuff, and that's why they would have to cover up killing Marine member like Law, basically, is because he still works for the government, essentially. Because we're talking about killing someone, and it's linked to this fruit, basically. From what we can tell, you know, it's kind of chopped up.
Yeah. But the other thing is that I wasn't expecting to see Zunisha until the final big war.
Yeah, and so I have a lot to actually say on placement. I think to an extent it makes sense where maybe it got activated by or sensed the Conquerors, basically, in his move because of all the clashes that have been going on. So maybe that's why he's moving in that direction. Now, what I do find interesting now is that it can be as a tool to break down the borders of Wano, basically. So, islands open again. But I think there's also another aspect where I know this is kind of in my headcanon where if Apu is in fact like a triple agent for Blackbeard to get the poneglyph in Wano, then there's one on Wano, there's one in Zunisha, and then theoretically Blackbeard's getting the third one in Whole Cake, which kind of led to the Vince folks getting freed, and then Blackbeard has 3 right there.
That's true.
So it's interesting how Apu wasn't taken out like Drake, basically. You know, there's still a purpose for his character, because if they're willing to just embarrass and humiliate one supernova that's fought a lot, why didn't they do it to the other supernova that's fought a lot, like Apu?
Well, I mean,
so
Apu's gotten the short end of the stick a lot in this arc, though.
Yeah, he still keeps on getting up. Like it wouldn't be like the most unbelievable thing in the world if he got defeated along with Drake. You know, so how I can kind of now another interesting aspect there is like, are these world government people gonna get the Jack treatment? Just get annihilated, you know, or take out some of the ships, but then ultimately it gets injured and taken down. Because remember when Jack actually shot it with some cannons, it was actually in severe pain and in danger of falling.
Yeah.
Down. So if they have some heavy hitters on this ship, they can maybe hurt it enough where he does collapse, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we still got to find out exactly why Zunisha was tasked with walking. Because wasn't that a thing with it, that it was ordered to walk?
It was ordered to walk, yeah, and that's like linked to the Void Century, right? But wasn't it walking for like 800 years or something?
I don't remember off the top of my head. But I mean, I could see kind of like Zunisha kind of relocating to around Wano and keeping Wano safe from outside forces, and because then you'll have the Minks there too, and the Minks and the samurai are tightly connected. So do you think, so this is my problem on a narrative aspect with this, is that they've been building up to the Marines / world government coming here, and it's kind of like a big deal, and they're hitting it over and over again, and so wouldn't it just be weird if he just wipes out all of them? It's like, okay, that got settled. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Well, I don't think that Oda's going to do that, because, I mean, Rob Lucci's on one of those ships.
Yeah, and so if they didn't even disrespect the nameless CP0 agents, I don't think Oda's going to disrespect Lucci. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's also interesting that, I mean, judging by how Oda's drawing, he draws the waters of Wano in a very particular style, so I mean, they're within Wano's borders at this point. The ships and Zunisha. And it looks like Zunisha's coming up behind them. Behind the ships. So, yeah, when I first read the spoilers, it was interesting because the spoilers had spoilers, because they didn't say who showed up at the end of the chapter. So this is like a big thing. Okay. So I mean, this changes how we look at the end of Wano, because we don't know what's gonna happen now. Like, is Zunisha gonna help like a falling Onigashima, or when you bring this level of something into the story, it's gonna change it in a big way. And I mean, there's been the theory that like Zunisha is some sort of, like, he could be like Uranus or something, or I don't know. And
yeah,
and you brought up the possibility about the fruit being related to Zunisha, and maybe Zunisha, I don't know, maybe Zunisha had the immortality fruit, and that's how the island grew. Like, theoretically, you wouldn't stop growing, maybe. Or maybe Oda would say that about why Zunisha's so big, if he was immortal.
That's a great point, actually. Yeah. No, I hadn't thought of it that way. And which way do you think they're going in? Like, there's two entrances in the Wano. Remember, there was like the back way that Appu took,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's like kind of the natural way. And it doesn't look like the world government's using the koi fish to go up a waterfall or anything.
That's
So,
true. I don't remember.
are they going through the back way?
Maybe. Because why would Oda put in a back way if not for that? And,
Yeah. So
and they would know how to get there because the CP0 agents come in through the back and there.
yeah, exactly.
And I don't know. I don't remember exactly how it looked. Did it have like all in the chapter? There are a bunch of like tall. I wouldn't call them mountains, but like tall rock formations on either side, and it looks like an aisle that's leading toward. But it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily look like the original way, because didn't the normal way have like whirlpools and everything too?
Add whirlpools, and I just don't know how the government would get up without the koi fish too. You know, so that was kind of an interesting omission that was portrayed here. So, yeah, I don't know. Because I don't think Oda would present the hidden way without having a purpose for that, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah. So overall, though, it was a really interesting chapter.
Yeah, I think we talked more about these last 2 pages than we did the rest of the fighting in the chapter.
For sure, yeah. There's a lot there, and yeah, hopefully we get some resolutions soon because Oda's been trolling us lately. But unfortunately, we're gonna be on break next week. But hopefully, we can get out some content in between. Maybe do a 2021 year in review that we were hoping to do. But if you guys enjoyed the video, throw us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for listening to the Galley La Podcast.
See ya.